Let's talk about our first match. We just talked about it. Team Peps versus ENCE. Let's talk about Team Peps first. Great lineup. Hey, I know. I think I know.
This is ENCE.
Okay, it's ENCE right now. We're going to be talking about them very soon. But Peps also has a great roster as well. And I know, these couple of the players that we're seeing right now, I've seen them before.
Yeah, there's a few players we can recognize here, of course. If you watch the Overwatch League the last few years, you'll recognize names as Ben Best, FD God, for example, Hybrid even in this lineup as well. But there's a few up-and-comers as well on the bench. As you can see in the bottom there, Stelios has made a name for himself. Naga's had some real pop-up moments, of course, here too. So this is one of those teams that I think they're gunning for one of those top spots. They're not necessarily the favorites because they're not up there with ENCE and Twisted Minds per se, but you look at the talent on this roster, and they are one of those teams that could upset potentially. So you get a tough first matchup here against ENCE in the very first round, but it is double elimination. You want to come out with a good first impression and then maybe make it deep in the bracket.
I mean, but look at this ENCE squad, right? Kevster, Kai, so stacked from just like a probably biggest name value. Crimzo as well in the starting lineup. Alternating time with Ghost91, who, as an up-and-coming player, I think a lot of people might not know the name yet, but I think you very soon will. Ghost91 has had huge performances, but Kevster, come on, this guy on anything, man. The Tracer is probably his signature hero, but come on, it's just monstrous anytime he brings it out. The pulse bombs just don't miss from this guy. And then Kai, anytime he's on a core hit scan, is terrifying.
So I think one interesting talking point here is that, we've been through a few meta shifts here. We got, the hot fix on Tuesday that fixed some of the Mauga stuff, for example. And one of the concerns going into this event was, maybe Kevster won't be able to play his signature heroes, like the Tracer, for example. Maybe you'll have to put Kevster on the Reaper. Is Kevster, one of the best players in the world, going to have as much impact playing some of those heroes, like the Reaper, for example? Well, because we went through the hotfix patch on Tuesday, maybe we can see Kevster back on some of his most impactful heroes, which could help ENCE Esports in the rest of this tournament.
And also, I also want to ask you guys about, Jake, you briefly mentioned about the rebranding for ENCE. Like, what is your take on that? Do you think it's a great thing for Team ENCE, but do you think is that somehow gonna affect how they play their playstyle or anything?
I mean, if anything, it's a confidence boost. I think you look at that squad as like having no organization before. I mean, if as an EU organization you want to get a team it was pretty obviously going to be these guys. I mean, they were looking like one of the favorites for the whole tournament. It was conspicuous to not see them have a sponsor in an org. So I think ENCE, it's a wise decision for them. I think they won't regret picking up this squad. Even with, guys like Vestola having a decent performance in Overwatch League, but really, popping off in the World Cup, right?
The World Cup.
Was Sigma Gap. I saw a Sigma Gap on Hanbin.
Yeah, it was good.
I don't want to call those out all the time, but that was different what he did on that map. So can he replicate that success? Can he turn it into something long term? I think that's still a question TBD. But I'm excited. There's a lot of talent on this squad. I think ENCE, it's a wise pick. I would have done the same if I was picking up an EU roster right now.
Yeah.
Johnny, how about you? Do you have something to add?
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting roster. Masa's back as well, and Masa's always been a character. Had incredible success with Atlanta Reign, for example, in the Overwatch League. Then went over to the Vancouver Titans. Didn't have the greatest time on Vancouver Titans, but Masa did do an interview with Commander X that you can check out on his YouTube channel, where he said, I just need to find my passion again, get back here and watch or play some Overwatch, right? So he's back. He's passionate about the game and looking forward to compete. So it's good to have him back.
All right. Enough yapping for us here on the desk. Let's take a look at the map set before we jump right into the game. We're going first to Lijiang, and then that's gonna be followed by Midtown and in Colosseo as well. What are your thoughts on Lijiang?
We got to talk about Lijiang.
We've been seeing a lot of Lijiang.
It's a confident pick, though, right? I think if you want to throw a wrench in the works as a team, you could take it to a less popular map. But you go to Lijiang because you just say, hey, we're better than you. We're going to take you straight up, nothing special. And that's the way to start a series if you think you're the better team. So I think we might see teams go off Lijiang if they wanted to mix it up, if they don't feel confident. But a lot of these high seed teams are just going to say, let's come in swinging. Honestly, when they play, two strong teams play each other, I wouldn't be surprised to see more mix-up options come out. Maybe they've hold some strats in the pocket, but I think ENCE shouldn't really need to pull out the stops for Peps. Peps, I think, is a big underdog here.
All right. Johnny, what do you think? Do you agree?
Yeah, I think ENCE as well, they're a strong brawl team. They like playing some of these brawl compositions, Cloudy not going to see playtime on the Reinhardt, for example. But Lijiang is a strong map, you know, can play Control Center, for example. So I think it's just a go-to favorite for ENCE Esports as well. So they're very comfortable playing Lijiang. Not only because all the teams pick Lijiang, but specifically, I think they're a good Lijiang team.
Either way, I think it's going to be an exciting match for ENCE and Team Peps. All right, enough yapping from the desk. Let's jump right into the game. And for this matchup, we have our lovely casters, Lemon Kiwi and Necra. Hello!
Hello! We're back! And we come bearing gifts. No more MAGA, at least potentially, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, you should take credit for that one, Jen. Welcome back to the desk for Overwatch. You should take that one as a win. Thank you so much to our very awesome desk. It's so great to have them back. It's so great to be back with everybody for such an amazing event that we have ahead of us. Jen, I'm so stoked to be here with you for this.
Me too. And you know, the last time we casted together was at the World Cup, and I'm like squinting, and yeah, I recognize a few of these names. A big congratulations to Bubbo Spray Check that got signed by ENCE like today. So great news. And Team Peps hopefully get to play with BenBest or continue to do so. And we'll see kind of how the meta shakes up after a patch that just hit.
Right. I think that that's going to be the biggest thing to keep an eye on is, does MAGA actually stay around? I feel like with the reversion of the changes, we're not going to see him. But, you know, maybe teams got a little bit comfortable playing that last weekend and they might want to try to bring that to the table. But one of those teams that actually didn't was Team Peps. Like when we actually saw them play last weekend, even though it was a MAGA meta, we didn't actually see them play like too much MAGA. They still felt flexible between being able to play other things like the Winston, the Orisa, and that I think that will help them a little bit in this matchup here to continue to play things like that.
I'm glad to see BenBest become more of a flexible tank. He's beating the allegations, because I remember back in the Overwatch League, he was kind of subbed in on a map here and there to be in Reinhardt jail. That's actually a nice jail to be in. You're not going to hear me say that too often, but it's great to see BenBest be in that spotlight and hopefully as a mainstay. Team Peps played, you know, half with Hybrid, half with BenBest, and the power rankings that you're hearing from the content creators ain't great for Team Peps, but they got to prove themselves here today against ENCE.
I do think that that's part of the reasoning, right? Is like one of the things that might make Team Peps a little bit lower on those power rankings is the fact that we really haven't been able to see them in full form. Team Peps did play a match with the MAGA meta with BenBest. Before that, it was Hybrid that was playing in that tank role because of team circumstances. So does that change at all? We can finally see what Team Peps can bring to the table when we don't have MAGA in our server. And if you see what these teams are hovering over right now, there's no MAGA. I think this is great for us. Jen, we're in for a real treat here as these gates start to open.
Guys, I'm so new here. They get to just wear any skin now. I'm used to just the Overwatch League skins. This is so exciting.
You get to judge them for what they wear, you know?
Yeah, well, Peter the Horse is here. We got Orisas across the board. Of course, you're going to see Kevster on the Tracer. That's been his mainstay. And then Naga on the other side matching that. Hybrid versus Kai. That's an exciting matchup. I think that's tough for Hybrid to go up against for now. You're going to see ENCE try to get on this point to cap it. The Orisa's going to bump into each other, but great space being made by Festola. Susu being used by Cronus. Maybe a little too early. The cap still goes through, and Festola wants to go forward.
Festola can push forward a little bit with this, especially because of the sustainability that Orisa provides. She's so tanky and she soaks up so much damage that she is going to be able to play a little bit more far forward. You also have like this all-star backline. How could you not feel confident?
How can you not? But here's the retake. With BenBest and friends surging on in, and this is a dangerous spot for ENCE to be in. You do not want to play around this point. You could easily get booped off, maybe javelined off, but with the Kitsune rush of Cronus, surely this seals the deal, and BenBest proving to be all those environmental kills can be very scary, and that's a great retake by BenBest and friends.
There you go. Nice spear to remove the mobility that you have with a Lucio like Masa, but the retake looks good here for our beautiful team of Team ENCE. They've got the Sound Barrier, they've got the Kiriko, like you've got both of those ultimates that can really help to re-engage in this fight.
Oh, speaking of that re-engage, sound barrier from Masa to save them from the Orisa ult of Benbest. And that's when Kai gets to let loose. Sort of got buffed by the Kitsune Rush of Crimzo, but so far so good for ENCE. Welcome to the main event. But man, so many ults on the Team Pep side.
Yeah, I think the Peps still have a good ultimate economy here, but, you know, ENCE, they were able to hold on to quite a few of those ultimates, just expending the support ults in their back pocket. So you still have Vestola that can play aggressive here with something like that Terra Surge online.
Oh, everyone run away. Kai's got aim, so does Hybrid. Sound barrier from FD God, though, by that cushion for Team Peps, and that is the boon they needed to overwhelm ENCE once again. And this is very back and forth. Usually control snowballs into a team that can hold the point for so long, but hey, Team Peps gotta close the gap on the score.
It's they're approaching that differential as well. Like, they're closing the gap. They had used a ton of ultimates here. Vestola still has yet to find an opportunity to weave in this Terra Surge, but oh man, there's your opening pick. You don't even need the ult.
Oh, this is where these tracers, the recall being used by Capster. Has to play a lot more conservative, but he shreds down Benbest, sliding in his Hybrid just to keep the point alive a bit longer. But a full team wipe in favor of ENCE, and they won't let Team Peps get away with the lead.
And now you take a look at Cronus having the Kitsune Rush back online, so another really great engagement tool as Team Peps walks their way back in here. And it's been really back and forth so far, based on which team can actually find that value with their ultimate. So Cronus has a lot that they can put forth here in this next fight.
Now Team Peps, Kitsune Rush, just trying to draw them in. Getting close to the Orisa ult too, but somehow FD God is getting flanked by Kevster, who's on fire. Kitsune Rush, trigger pulled by Cronus. There's Benbest rallying the enemy. And now Vestola is separated away from his team. Kitsune Rush from Crimzo just to see if they can fight back while they reunite with their tank. And Soundbear from Masa is a huge supportive ult for ENCE to reestablish themselves on that point. And with the boops, well, ENCE comes out on top.
And starting with a very strong start here in our match, but, you know, Team Peps, they really made them work for that one. I was very impressed by the mirror matchup, just how well Benbest was holding his own against Vestola. And Vestola is one of those tanks that I think is also one that you could consider as just evolving over the course of so many years. Like, Jen, if you think back to when we used to cast over Vestola in like EMEA contenders, Vestola was so well known for his Sigma play. He was the best Sigma in the EMEA region. He also was able to play like the Ramatra and just a couple of these other really important tank roles when he ended up eventually making a stop over into the Overwatch League. But he's coming back on the Orisa, and this is just a huge rework that I feel like he's really picked up quickly, and it's working out for them here. Kevster, though, gonna make a brief pit stop to the Genji.
Seeing you can brawl against this Tracer better, maybe close the gap against Hybrid, help assist Kai in that matchup. The Orisas will continue. Vestola has Benbest pinned up against the wall. He tries to break out, using the Fortify, using the Suzu from Cronus, but Team Peps are still just trying to stabilize, and they manage to get a headshot on Amasa. Vestola's very low. Crimzo is too many kids to deal with, just trying to heal everybody. So Team Peps made the most out of that situation and will cap first.
I'm really surprised that Kevster wants to play the Genji here. I guess opting to have something like a deflect available for any of the kunai or maybe a charged railgun shot. I guess you actually can't. I don't think about that one too hard. But yeah, like, I'm just surprised when Naga is playing the Tracer, he doesn't want to take that duel.
Yeah, and with a fresh patch and a new meta developing, maybe we don't have to think too hard, and they're probably trying to think of what is best. As Genji can also be a pretty good brawl here to just maybe play front to back, deal with Benbest, and Kai, gets FD got low enough and he couldn't rejoin the team. He really just tried to extend the 34% that Peps had. And speaking of had, ENCE, we're going to recap the point.
I love the quick spray there by Kai, verified Overwatch League player. That's such a Giga Chad move right there. But yeah, I think the way that ENCE is playing, they're locking down so many of these corridors. It's very difficult for Team Peps to make a re-engage here, especially because take a look at how Naga just got speared into the wall. They know he's got pulse bomb. Someone's gonna get stuck with this. They gotta be really careful. And the Suzu just got used.
Ooh. Can Naga make his way on the flank? Maybe that's why Kevster isn't feeling it. So he gets Pistola low, but usually you don't want to use a pulse bomb on a tank. And Peps are trying to help him. Nasa! Oh, he gets his barrier canceled. He was trying to save Pistola. What a pick from Team Peps. And now they send ENCE all the way back to spawn.
This is going to be a little bit of a reset here. That is so unfortunate. Not having a sound barrier in that fight made it unwinnable at that point. So you may as well back up, not get staggered, try to come back in as a team of 5. Kevster does have the Dragon Blade, and you've also got Kai ready to hit this overclock.
KFD God almost had the same thing happen to him. He kind of jumped out with the barrier, but now Hybrid with the overclock. Team Peps taking up a lot of space. Vestola tried to draw someone in with the Terra Surge. Didn't work out as ENCE have to break their way through. Dragon Blade available. That first pick onto Benbest. Once you remove that pillar of a tank first, it seems like all the rest of the dominoes fall. We'll see if ENCE feel comfortable enough. And now that they've taken care of Naga, the recap is there for ENCE. They don't really have to use ults.
No, and that's really good for them too, because now they still get to hold on to the Dragon Blade. They got the Sound Barrier out of FD God as well, so there should be a blade that can actually make some impact here. It's not going to be as flashy as the blades we've seen before, but still can work here with something like the Rush too.
Yeah, the big advantage of that Kitsune rush from Crimzo, and Naga makes his way to the back and didn't get the burst he was looking for. Dodges the Javelin though, ENCE return to the point, 70%. And match point on our first map. Team Peps have their own Kitsune rush, and Cronus is going to pull the trigger. Kevster has a sound barrier to work with, and a blade gets through FD God, denies a chance at a sound barrier return by Team Peps. And ENCE, have they done enough at 85+%? Peps are going to have to race to the point to touch.
It does look like this is going to be enough, especially because they could get the stagger here onto Naga, which means that this would just be a 4v5, and everybody is stuck at the door as Vestola holds the line.
It's panic at the Team Peps camp. Trying to get there in time. Now Hybrid and Naga, don't think they can keep this overtime wick burning. What a statement to make from ENCE in map number 1.
Looking really good so far, Team ENCE. I guess it's the rebrand buff maybe that we're seeing come through just a little bit, but it looks like a super strong start for them. I think Team Peps, though, that was still very, very back and forth and still focused on getting value out of those ultimates, but I think we're in for a really good set here from Team ENCE.
And you saw just the delivery of the Genji and how much more consistent that can be just with the Suzu and how tanky Orisa is and how mobile everybody is. And maybe it's difficult to deliver a good pulse bomb. So you go with the Dragon Blade. They combine that with the sound barrier just so you can go deeper into the team and risk more of your life and deliver more damage in that process while you're brawling. Even if you're not getting kills with the Dragon Blade, you're getting people low enough for that to still result in a team fight win.
Yeah, there was definitely some combo potential there with how much consistent damage Kai was getting out there with the Sojourn as well. So if it wasn't going to be Kevster that actually finishes off those low health targets, then you could tell that Kai was still following up on whatever damage was getting laid down by something like the Dragon Blade. What was really nice about that fight too is that, like, with some of the changes that we've seen to Genji, or just in general, I suppose, just the big HP and shield buffs that a lot of these heroes have gotten, it has nerfed that Genji Blade in just a little bit, and not having the Ana Nano boost there. I love that you called out that the sound barrier kind of does something like that, where you do have that extra overhealth to make sure that that Genji is untouchable. But man, I actually thought that FD God, like, he got booped into like the netherworld. It took so long for that sound barrier to come down. I was stressing for him.
Yeah, he almost took another portal 6 feet under. It was, he got me scared, but the canceled barrier came from Masa. But it happens to to the best of us. It happens to the worst of us. But it was cool to see Kevster on the Genji. Got a lot more access to Hybrid. We were alluding to that. And he was on fire through the whole time and paired up beautifully with Kai. That has to be one of the deadliest DPS duos we have in EMEA.
You're totally right about that. Like, I'm certainly looking at even just like the KD ratios here, and I feel like that sort of speaks for itself. Like, ENCE was super good too. When you recognize a few times there on even Control Center, I think was some of the best examples, that they would lose maybe 1 or 2 members, recognize that they wouldn't be able to win the fight, and then they just back out. They're like, we don't want to deal with that. We know that if we are able to go back in as a full team of 5 with the ultimate economy that we have, we can take that fight as long as we're able to actually go in and have a proper team fight. So it feels really good there, I think, to be able to see that ENCE is just continuing to play strong Overwatch fundamentals in these team fights.
I have one brain cell this early in the morning, and every time I see the word ENCE, I'm just like, ENCE. It's like a type of party.
It's a dance party.
I don't think Peps are having a party, though, with how that first map shaked up. But it is them maybe needing more time with Ben Best. I think ENCE played that really well, just front to back. I kind of saw Ben Best be the first one to fall, and the tank is the first one to die usually, and that's where all the focus of ENCE went into, because I saw that Team Peps, well, they couldn't own any space without that Orisa, and that's where people like Hybrid and Naga are gonna struggle, especially on that Tracer. If you're on the flank and your team doesn't have space, then your flank is not gonna be very impactful.
Yeah, it's a great point. Like, one of the things that I was a little bit surprised by is that, you know, we know that Kevster's Tracer is one of the best in the entire world, and it comes down to his map awareness of, like, health packs where other Tracers might like to flank, and just being able to get the one-up in a lot of those 1v1s in the Tracer versus Tracer. And I wonder if he goes back to that when it comes down to the next map that we have on Midtown, because while this is Team Pep's choice, I think one of the ways that they might struggle a little bit is just this DPS lineup when you do have like this dynamic duo of like Naga and Hybrid. You love to be able to see that for Peps, but how does that go toe to toe, and how does that match up against a duo like Kevster and Kai? I feel like it's Overwatch League all over again when it comes down to those two players.
Yeah, and I think we're going to go back to an Overwatch League type meta on a map like Midtown, picked by Team Peps, where the range duel, at least when it comes to point A, very, very impactful. The Sojourns have to deliver those first picks to at least allow the attacking team to move past that bridge. I think the Tracer presence can be very impactful here. This is where maybe Naga can get his revenge, make his way into the back alley, start harassing, maybe draw the defense out of that main choke. That could be a task for the Tracer. I don't think Genji is unplayable. Of course, you'll have access to the high ground. You can even jump over the train if you're feeling Chad like that, but it wouldn't be a horrible pick. We'll see where Kai wants to end up to. So double long range DPS for ENCE. Kevster back to the Genji on the attack. So we'll see if we'll be able to gap close. If Team Peps play far enough, that'll be tough for him.
Yeah, I mean, those Genji dashes are really, like, they can go very far, and they can bring your team close the gap pretty quickly. That also will help. Wow, not
shooting heads. W.
Was just
That's
there.
all you need. Kai, go do Kai things. It's in his name. K for kill. Go get him. And now, well, Team Peps MIA. But surprisingly, ENCE not crushing the point. Kevster would like to do that, but he's dead currently. ENCE gonna slowly travel their way to the point. And now the Team Peps, as soon as they see those ducklings cross the road, they want to squash him. Team Peps trying to contest. Kai keeps winning the Sojourn duel against Hybrid. And this is, this is Team Peps' choice of map, so you would think you're confident in Hybrid facing Kai, but this has been an ENCE fight all day and night. Crimzo missing is a bit sketchy, but with Team Peps being dead, you don't have to really heal if there's no damage being dealt.
I mean, if you're worried about the 1v1 when it comes down to the Sojourn versus Sojourn, I think you can play the Sojourn a little bit differently on both sides. Kai is the best Sojourn that we had in the Overwatch League. Maybe bar like a couple of players that were able to stand up there with him. But I think like when it came down to the statistics, Kai was putting up some of the best, most consistent numbers on Sojourn, whether it came to charged railgun kills, just KD. He was always looking very strong on this hero. So you know you're always going to be going up a tough opponent when it's going to be Kai on the other side of the lobby. But pay attention to where his focus is, right? Because while he's able to keep that backline busy, that means that they're not able to focus on that front.
What do you got is keeping the team busy with the Sound Bear and the Kitsune Rush to fight back against ENCE, and that's 3 ults coming out of net. ENCE, but no DPS. Kai got pulse bombed by Naga. As soon as he tried to go up the stairs, Kevster was 9% away from the Dragon Blade and couldn't pull it out in combination with the Sound Barrier, so great defense by Team Peps on the bridge.
Yeah, I think you're okay with that, though. I mean, like, Genji Blade now, like, you did get the sound barrier out, so maybe you're able to combo that a little bit differently with just some of the overclock damage that's going to be coming out from Kai in this next fight, but sound barrier is out, like, the biggest tool that you would want to get out with the Dragon Blade.
Oh, Kai overclocking. Oh, right into the video strike. Oh, he got stomped on. Benbes with a big 2 kills, and Team Peps continue to hold ENCE at bay. And this is one of the toughest parts of Midtown to get through.
Yeah, the second point, it can be really devastating for some of these teams, especially if you get stopped at the door, you get stopped at the mid ground. Oh my god, Hybrid.
It's about time, though. Because Kai was hard diffing at the start of this, and now that Hybrid has maybe some space to work with, he's not getting snowballed by an attacking team. Now he's on an off angle that'll be hard to escape from. Hopefully FD God can escort him back, and he has the slide, of course. So ENCE walked maybe right into a trap. This Hybrid nasty headshot onto Masa, and man, ENCE are just out in the open too. They're trying to escape back to spawn, and it's not really working out.
No, holding them at the spawn door, though, a very impressive feat from Team Peps. They are going to give up a little bit of space, maybe just giving some room here for this Kitsune Rush to work, but they're still very cognizant of the fact that ENCE is working up to the next cycle of ultimates. Has a rush of their own, too, so you don't want to make sure that they get, like, too much advantage having to play up against this door.
Kevster Dragon Blade can be used to bring out this sound barrier, unless you delay it in hopes that the Kitsune Rush gets Peps antsy, and then be gone! The sound barrier gets canceled by the Dragon Blade of Kevster! Slices through 2. The perfect timing, the perfect delay to read that as soon as you saw him jump up, and ENCE have broken through the bridge.
Oh my god, these poor Lucios this match so far. We got some highlights, I think, for later to get of those. But what a great way to break through that defense is just a good recognition of FD God wanting to use that sound barrier, but Benbes is coming back with a vengeance.
Okay, you forced out the slide and the Suzu, so even though, again, you're not killing anything with the Terror Surge most of the time, drawing out these very important cooldowns may have just resulted in a Team Peps win! It's so back and forth, and Naka's doing his best to make this close. Kevster trades back and forth. It's a bloodbath with only Vestola remaining. Kevster down low is going to rejoin him. Spawns are much closer for Team Peps, and Cronus will be able to teleport in, but Kevster's not leaving them any room to breathe, and ENCE managed to cap.
Oh my god, Kevster was like 5 HP when he dashed towards like the last couple moments of the fight before rejoining after getting a health pack, but like, oh my god. Not having a support player there, you're like, I need healing help. But yeah, like a great way to once again sort of break through that barrier. They have secured the second checkpoint, and now they've also started to gather some momentum. They've gotten a lot of ultimates out to Team Peps without really seeing a whole lot of value conversion, so ENCE get to come back in with this one with the overclock as well as the Terror Surge, and that could lock down a bunch of targets. They're also going to get 2 more ults together in this fight.
Yeah, you're right. There's so much wind in the sails of ENCE with the ults that they have. And they're okay with disengaging like this, letting Team Peps get a little too eager for kills, and ENCE have a better response. They jump on out with the Terror Surge, and this will put a dent to the Best. He isolated himself in the room to break LOS from the damage, and ENCE, once they remove Best, we'll see how easy this goes. They lack a tank themselves, so it's a DPS duel where Kevster, he's been able to get these assassinations for ENCE before. He's a scary guy to go up against, forces out the Suzu from Cronus, and that is the go sign. ENCE used the sound barrier, and they killed the supports. Team Peps are staggered from each other. At least Team Peps did get to stall out the cart a bit. We'll see if they'll get to recontest soon.
Wow, but Vestola's coming back on the Sigma, his signature hero. You're able to put up that barrier, which is going to be way more impactful in this final moments of this fight to even just give yourself a little bit more staying power.
Great accretion, but didn't get the kill. FD got with the sound barrier to help the team stabilize, because that's what I was worried about, retaking with so little space. And so this Orisa is a good distraction for a Blade, but Naga only gets one, and ENCE is all of their focus shift to that Genji. But with ENCE's supports being so low, you don't have Masa and Crimzo. This is a dead fight, and that's pretty unfortunate with how you said how successful this offense for ENCE has been since they won on the bridge phase.
At least they have 30 seconds left. That's one more attempt for them to try to get back into this one, but they don't have a whole lot to work with immediately. So something that we saw Team Peps use already is just this Kitsune rush right off the rip. And having to walk into that one is so devastating when they don't have something like the sound barrier to keep them up a little bit longer.
A ton of good ults coming up, though. Gravitic Flux and the Overclock. ENCE need to build space for Kai to work with, and Vestola gets overwhelmed. Kitsune Rush from Cronus, and Team Peps is too good, and Hybrid just gets to play Duck Hunt, and ENCE, this will be the end of the road for their attack, but still a valiant push. A lot of teams get stuck on that bridge phase, and this could still be winnable for them.
Yeah, a lot of teams get stuck here too. It's so rough when the spawns are right there and you're going to be respawning so quickly as well before that overtime timer starts to kick in. But it's still a great push. As you called out, they did get stuck on that second point for quite a while, so they had way less time to work with heading into this third and final point. Maybe if they had had an extra 30 seconds, maybe an extra attempt there, it felt like things could go their way, but in the panic of things, they had to use the Gravitic Flux as soon as it got online. Vestola got killed before he was even able to land it. And with Kai 2 hitting the overclock, Hybrid was able to just get the leg up there. But now, Jen, I'm really curious about something, because we have seen Kevster opt to go for the Genji so far in this match. And I think what's kind of interesting about that one is, like, if he stayed on the Genji, do we see Naga also try his hand at it?
Yeah, Naga tried at the very end, and that's why it's kind of forgettable, because he didn't get like 3 or 4 Ks like Kevster does. And I think Naga has to beat the allegations. I think he didn't get enough trust, resources, and time to develop in that Genji meta way long back. And now he gets to be the mainstay on a roster, gets to be in that spotlight, and maybe prove that he is a Genji that can compete. And I wonder if he's gonna fall back to that, or maybe ENCE's focus fire on the Genji is too good, because Naga did get shut down a lot on that Genji.
Oh, but unless it's so interesting that they've swapped roles now, right? Because Kevster is on the Tracer. Team Peps hasn't necessarily seen that yet, but Naga is still going to commit to this Genji for this first push, and so there's something there. There's definitely something there. I think that Naga is one of those players that we always enjoyed seeing his Genji when it came to EMEA contenders, and I would love to see what he's able to do on a hero like this, especially given the opportunity to play with space that Bembes can create. But this is going to be a null push. They can't go in after losing so many members. They're going to have to regroup.
Absolutely, and this is where Kai's also hit scan has been really helping out ENCE at a distance. Team Peps are getting shredded before they even put their Genji in position to do much.
Yeah, great point. I mean, like, Kai could just get a pick, and that spells disaster for a push. So it can definitely come down to that, and they're going to have to be very careful about trying to make this rotation as they head through Laundry.
Oh yeah, Naga's getting washed in that laundry, all right. Team Peps try these cute little flanks. FD got escorting this Genji around. That's going to be important to get them into these alternate angles where hopefully Naga goes unseen, but he'd rather not be seen on Genji. He's going back to Tracer, where it's just a more flexible and forgivable hero when it comes to mobility.
And Naga was doing great on the Tracer. Think about all the pulse bombs that he was able to land on that previous round, even taking a look at their first map of the series. And one of the nice things about that pulse bomb is that Team Peps have been able to find ways to weave that in around the Suzus from Crimzo. So that is one way that Team Peps can continue to find success here. And you still got this Tracer versus Tracer we get to see.
And it's different because Kevster doesn't have Masa helping him out, so he's technically in a 1v2, so he couldn't control Laundry very well. Kitsune rush from Cronus, and Kevster denies chance at a sound barrier at a 50 god. He was 3% away, and Team Peps could have easily layered that barrier to maybe salvage the fight when the Kitsune rush got matched by Crimzo. So this defense is solid out of ENCE.
Yeah, that's so rough. It kind of looked like the pulse bomb got attached to Ben Best, and then there was just no escaping in time for it to actually go off. So yeah, they don't have the sound barrier for that fight, but they do have it now. So I love that there's being able to have that beat maybe a little bit later than Masa, and then if you are able to get the late beat, usually that does result in a team fight win. So I do hope that's the case for them to start to break through this first objective.
Yeah, Team Peps are splitting their forces, and I think that's why Ben Best is just getting hosed down. He's not getting as much support because this Lucio is away, but we'll see if this barrier will rally the troops. Masa and ENCE always are matching ultimates. Terra Surge will put a large amount of damage into Vestola, but Orisa is just one of the most survivable tanks in the game. It's gonna take a lot to kick Vestola in the face. 42 seconds and a Terra Surge in a tiny room. That is not the club that Team Peps wanted to walk into. 35 seconds. We could see a full hold by ENCE, and that would put them to match point.
It's starting to look that way. I mean, Team Peps, they're at an ultimate disadvantage here. They have to walk into a Kitsune rush from Crimzo. And Kevster also could just land a pulse bomb and finish the deal right here. So it is looking really rough for Team Peps to get back into this, and they don't have much time to approach this point as a full team of 5. Now look at the pressure that ENCE is putting on them. They're just walking up.
And that 10% of Kitsune rush between Cronus and Crimzo could make all the difference. ENCE get to pull the trigger first on the fight and maybe able to deny Team Peps from touching. No, Naga is there, but not for long. Hybrid, FD God, somebody has to go. They can't reach the finish line, and ENCE take map number 2.
Wow. Yeah, what a lights out performance there. It was looking really good when we saw Team Peps on the defense and just how many team fights in a row they were able to win. But ENCE put on a masterclass of just how to play that very first defensive point on Midtown. They had an answer for everything. All the ways that they were able to sort of lock down that laundry room made it so difficult for Team Peps to ever get a chance at having a full 5v5 team fight.
Oh, I'm not used to my full government name being up. Before it was just Necra and Lemon Kiwi. And now we gotta be legit, okay? And Team Peps gotta find synergy the same way we have synergy. You know, matching hair colors. I even matched my sort of background with you.
It's so on point. I saw that and I was like, ooh, the aesthetic.
I know.
Got this.
It's matching. And Peps gotta match the aesthetic, but in-game. Because getting full held, very surprising. I just think Peps kind of split their forces and they played the correct way, but ENCE just had the better answer of, okay, if they're going to split their groups, we're going to focus all on one, putting Ben Best at a number disadvantage. And again, Ben Best is getting diffed on the tank, and I don't think there's anything he's doing wrong necessarily, unless you want to put a microscope to the macro. It's more that he doesn't have support from his team when they split up.
Yeah, I think that's a good call out there. I think one of the things that makes this matchup so interesting when you look at the actual mirror matchup is where's the healing investment going? Vestola, Vestola never dies. And it's not just because
So
he's
true.
super good at being able to rotate through his cooldowns. As we saw from Sigma, one of the reasons why he stood out on that hero in particular is that he has great cooldown management. But I think when you take a look at just the amount of healing that ENCE is able to do, take a look at that. Where's that healing going? I think a lot of it is going into the tank role just to make sure that Vestola is alive to continue to have that space for the DPS to work with.
Yeah, ENCE having more healing tells me they took a lot of damage but didn't die. So you gotta finish your food, Peps. You get people low, you gotta talk to each other. Who are we going after? And if there's people adventuring off like FD God and Naga, don't clutter up the comps. Don't clutter up the comms. Do what you do, because Benbest needs to communicate when he needs help and when people need to come back to assist him, because Vestola is getting everyone behind him and Benbest is out in the open, being a distraction for as long as he can while Naga is on the flank. And Naga, yes, can push Kevster out of laundry, but what did that result in? There wasn't a sequence that netted them even close to the point on their attack.
I think it was tough too because the supports were a lot of the focus that ENCE was putting onto Team Peps' attacks and defense, and that is also something that makes those stats a little unfair. Is like, oh, you're down a healer in a fight, like, yeah, you're gonna be doing a little less healing. But Colosseo as our next map, I think this is where we can really put those Sojourners once again back to the test. There's so many amazing sightlands to play with. I'm just thinking back to some of the first times we actually saw Sojourn get played in the Overwatch League and just how many pop-off moments that hero was able to have on Colosseo. That was so much fun to be able to watch. But I think too, you have to take a look at, again, like, where's the healing focus? Can these teams play together? And what are the problems that might be affecting a team to not be able to do that?
You sound like my Genji players in my games of, where is the healing? Let's have a meeting.
It's a little more aggressive than that, actually, if you want to call out the players that are in your game. You know, they like stand in front of you, they start like doing squats, like standing in front of you. Hello, like, heal me.
Dude, I'm Ana and I'm purposefully not healing them when they do that, but I'm toxic and I'm not pro like these guys for that reason. Because Team Peps have to bury those memories, especially the ones on Colosseo, especially maybe a specific one against Twisted Minds, but that was with a different tank and a different situation. And I wonder if that's why ENCE picked this very map against them. They sense a weakness, they smell blood on the water, and I thought Kevster did exactly that when he starts to dash in. And Team Peps, I think, finally realized those important cooldowns of the Genji are out, and they could have punished Kevster, but that almost costed Benbest's life. And as soon as Peps get low, ENCE surge in. Vestola maybe a little too much, but what a boop by FD God to secure that kill.
Huge. That was a huge boop. You isolate Vestola away from the team, but there is going to be revenge in the board here for ENCE as they start to even up that score, and they have control of this bot right now. Moss is going like sicko mode in the back. Did you see that? Like, two picks onto the flankers. Oh my god.
Yeah, the bigger the risks your Lucio's takes, you know, it could be a liability, it could be a bigger reward. But I'm liking that the Lucios are getting involved to try and reposition some people. But even when the tanks are gone, then it's up to the DPS, and Kai came out on top, and this is even longer range than Midtown, so Hybrid has to keep up.
Yeah, and it's all over this midpoint too, which comes down to just getting a pick right away.
Okay, Kitsune Rush. Soundbear is available. Crimzo not wanting to mirror this quite yet until the other Kitsune Rush is close to being done. But Benbest just gets run over as soon as Crimzo activates that. And ENCE always find these perfect moments where they sense Peps are at their weakest and ENCE just run them over.
I mean, take a look at that, right? Naga was so isolated from the team that it was a quick rundown moment. Masa just hits the speed forward, you get to amp it up, and then Naga is sadly taken out. But now he has an opportunity to go switch to the Genji, and we get to see what this Genji versus Genji looks like.
45 meters to 0. ENCE gonna extend that lead even more. After both DPS ultimates were invested, you still have the barrier, you still have the Terra Surge. We don't really care about Terra Surge, but the barrier timing is what's gonna be important for Masa. Hybrid's overclock comes out. You can make him look silly by just barriering it and no one's gonna die.
Yeah, especially with FT God, like, tried to use the barrier in that last fight. Kevster was still able to find value with that Dragon Blade. That's going to be checkpoint unlocked here for ENCE as they start to make their way around this corner. And look at where Vestola and Kai are holding the line right now. It's right on this bridge, providing so much space for that bot to move.
Ooh. A terrorist. Oh, guy. Okay, Hybrid is a family, I think. So ENCE have won every single fight so far. I really wasn't expecting a sweep, but Team Peps just apparently need more time together. There is going to be a lower bracket. It's not Jover, but 90 meters plus. Team Peps are having war flashbacks.
I mean, you heard the desk talk about this, though, too. Like, this is always going to be an uphill battle for Team Peps. You mentioned the power rankings, and ENCE overall as well has just had one of the best performances in this entire OWCS format so far. So I think it's so hard to compare the two of them when ENCE is showing up like this.
Ben Best would like to show up to this fight. He had to get healed all the way back up, and Team Peps are just pinned up against the wall, and ENCE are looking to full cap. What a map choice coming out of ENCE. They have the meta downloaded, they put their trust in Kai, and Kevster swapped to the Genji, which seems to be the secret sauce to this meta. The full cap, there it goes. ENCE sweep Team Peps.
That was a dominating performance. You got the full hold on Midtown. You got the full cap on Colosseo. See, it's all coming up to EMEA right now. They look so strong. I love what Johnny called out at the very beginning of the show. Like, he talked about the Commander X interview that he did with Masa, and I feel like Masa looked like he was having a ton of fun. Like, Kevster looked like he was having a ton of fun. This team looks like they are enjoying themselves. Being able to play the Genji, just going into the back line, playing the Lucio. Like, good stuff coming up there for Team ENCE, for sure.
I'm glad that people are having fun because Maga is dead. Well, not like dead RIP, but like dead in the meta, like metaphorically.
Yeah.
I love to see that. I was curious to see if people were gonna feel too uncomfortable running other comps because the patch just hit, so I wasn't sure if we were gonna see it or not. And I'm glad to see the horse back in the race. And what DPS are going to be picked alongside this? Obviously very map dependent. I wonder if Sigma would ever come back into the meta, because that was the best tank to synergize with the Sojourn Genji meta back in the day. But it's so fun to have a tournament like this right after a patch. You get to see what everyone finds out.
There's definitely some room to play the Sigma. I do think that is a hero that could come out on something like Circuit Royale, which I don't know is actually in our map pool because people haven't played it, so probably not. But you know what? I'd love to hear what the desk has to say about this matchup. Maybe they can give us a little bit more insight on the Genji choices coming out from these teams.
Honestly, I love Genji.
Yeah, who doesn't like Genji?
I'll be honest. I used to favor Hanzo more than Genji, but I've
He's the favored Shimada brother.
Yeah, I used to like Hanzo more, but now I like Genji now.
Genji
is one of the most beautiful FPS creations of all time, in my opinion. My humble opinion as a non-biased DPS spammer.
Yeah, we love Genji.
Very biased, you mean?
When I saw
it's just
Kevster's
incredible what you can do on the hero. But also, I mean, talking about Kevster in general, whether it's the Tracer, whether it's the Genji, strategically it matters, but this guy is just so lights out on both heroes. It's pretty rare, actually.
Kevster is Timothy.
Even though they're similar heroes in a way as flankers, like not many players are at that level on both of them. Usually there's a clear favorite specialization, but Kevster elite on both. So consistent with a lot.
I endorse this conversation.
I mean,
I love talking about Kevster.
Oh, this blade, man, the new blade, it feels so good, man. You get the carry out on this thing.
The swing
it's like
speed.
Lightsaber, honestly, crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like I think we talked about how scary ENCE could be coming into this match. You guys were talking about it, and they were definitely right. They made quick work of Team Peps for this series.
This was a good old-fashioned beatdown.
I got some analysis stored up. I'll show you guys later. But just briefly talking about the highlights, it is a very damage-oriented meta. If you got really strong damage players, you're going to get a lot of work done. So when you got Kai and Kevster on your side, they're just able to cook up so many advantages in every single team fight, right? So, really strong showing by ENCE. I'm gonna be honest, I was cooking up some telestrations in the back. I didn't even get to see this map. I missed out on the third map because I was too busy working in the back.
This was like a
it happened so fast.
This is like a world record speed run. I don't know if it's actually a world record, but that's got to be top 5 map.
I'm gonna be honest. We're backstage and we're like, yeah, they're not gonna cap right now, right?
Surely they don't.
They're not gonna cap.
It was
oh no, they capped! Guys, run! But I mean, great stuff from Team ENCE. Let's take a look at player of the match for this matchup. Or actually, we don't even need graphic. I'm just going to tell you. The player of the match for this was the person that we're going to interview right now. It is Crimzo from Team ENCE. Crimzo, hello. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. So, hey, congratulations on getting the win. I just got to ask, you guys are looking really scary right now. Team ENCE is looking really good. Is there like a team that you guys are currently looking out for?
I think in Europe there's like a big three going on with Twisted Minds, SSG, and ourselves. So I think it's going to be really, really competitive between us. I'd say that those two are definitely the teams to watch, and I think we can definitely come out on top. But it's going to be tough. So we'll see what happens.
All right.
I just want to say, for you guys as a roster, what does it mean to have ENCE come in and get behind you guys? I mean, I think you probably were clearly the biggest juggernaut in the region, unsponsored to that point. But how has it been, bringing in ENCE as an org and partnering with them as a team? How's that felt for you as a player and now sort of a coach role as well?
Yeah, it's been awesome. We've been working on it for a while. I think they've done a really good job of like coming in and kind of like giving us the support that we need. And I'm excited to continue to work with them in the future.
All right, I'm curious about your personal journey, Crimzo, because last year, some things fell apart, and you came out with a tweet as well, and you said like, all right, I'm retiring. It's goodbye, kissing goodbye GIF on Twitter. It's a great time. But now we're kind of back. I think that post is still pinned on Twitter, but you're playing some flex support here on ENCE. So like, what's your kind of like situation when it comes to your playing career? How does it feel to be back?
I did unpin it. But,
you did unpin it.
I did not honestly expect to be playing at all. Like I really came in like focused on like coaching and wanted to kind of like learn from Gunba and just like work with the team in a coaching way. But as it turned out, like things happened where I ended up being in like a good position to like be able to play and kind of fill a need in the team. So obviously, my experience in Overwatch League, I accepted my role and came in and filled the slot. And I did my part, and now I'm just kind of like, I guess that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good roster to kind of get to play for as well. But also, you're playing next to Ghost91, who's an up-and-coming player, in front, of course, a great Baptiste player. So before we kind of wrap up this interview, I'm just curious your thoughts on Ghost91 as well. Up-and-coming name that we didn't get to see in the Overwatch League. Yeah. What's it like when playing with Masa and Ghost91 in the backline?
I think Ghost is a really good player. Obviously, he's very young. He doesn't have that much experience. I think he can definitely grow and become like a really, really strong player. And as for Masa, Masa has been, one of the GOATs. He's been around for a long time. Obviously, he retired, but now he's kind of back. And, it's been really fun playing with him. I've always thought he was a really good player. So, it's just overall, it's a great roster. I'm really happy to be here. I think we can do really good things.
Amazing stuff, Crimzo. Thank you so much for the interview and good luck moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Crimzo.
All right. Moving on, I'm hearing that, Johnny, you have a special telestration.
Yeah, look.
From this match. It's going to be good, right?
I've been doing this thing for like 9 years now. So first broadcast back in 2024.
The game has been out for 9 years, bro.
Beta.
Okay, that's
true. Yeah, it actually has been out for anyway. Kind of. Well, you gotta count 2020. That's why you miss out 2020. So I'm just gonna see if I still got it or if I'm washed up. So
you got it.
Yeah, we're just gonna take a look at this meta. So we're on Midtown right here. Whoops. Yeah, gotta find my little marker right here.
Use the emojis.
The emojis. Okay, so Jake is really excited.
There's emojis.
We got some emojis.
Oh yeah.
So Jake really wants to use these at some point.
That's my contribution to the analysis.
Yeah, so I'm not going to pull them out this time around, but Jake is really excited about them. All right, so let's talk about the meta, because we had Mauga meta for like the longest time, and they were all playing as 5 and grouped up, but here we got something different. We got the Orisa, Lucio, Kiriko on both sides playing mirror matchup here essentially, and you can't really do a ton in this neutral matchup. Like if you're Lucio, you can help out on the flanks, but like Kiriko, Orisa, you're kind of playing pretty straightforward. So this meta is going to be a lot about the damage players. It's going to be a lot on the Sojourns and the Genjis to get things done instead, right? And turn these fights around. So as we're here on Midtown, we can play this clip out, and I'm going to showcase how they're manipulating some of these angles we're seeing from both teams. So, ENCE on the attack here, of course, but as they disengage here, we can actually see that up on this high ground, we got FD God and Naga contesting the high ground where Kevster is. So not only do we have one kind of angle that's been contested right here, in the bottom here as well, we have another angle, the bottom lane, being contested by Hybrid. So Peps has really good like angles right here in this fight particularly. They pop the Kitsune Rush. That's going to force the disengage from ENCE from this fight. They don't want anything to deal with that. So as we play this one out, it's a good disengage from ENCE after some really good positioning from Team Peps in this one. Now, as the disengage come through, we of course have the gate here. So this is like a close lane. The positioning here is really cool from ENCE. So we got Kevster disengaging with Crimzo to main, but also we're taking a look at Kai's perspective right here. He's playing Vestola in this angle. So we got two big angles really from ENCE, and that's going to put pressure from two different sides onto Peps. So now if you're Peps, you can't just engage onto Crimzo and Kevster, for example, because you're going to get abused from this angle we're seeing from Kai right here. And the opposite, of course, if you engage on top of Kai. So Benbest going to lurk here for a while. We can play this one out. Pops the Fortify, and as this re-engage comes through, we can see that Kai is going to pop the Overclock. That's going to force Team Peps back from this one, and we see a Terra Surge being dropped, no Fortify from Benbest. And so suddenly, ENCE re-engage here. They have superior angles now. They use Overclock to their advantage, and ultimately they're going to win this fight. As a nice reflect from Kevster. So just showcasing how damage players, line of sight, positioning has an impact in this meta, and how it's going to turn some of these fights around. So there you go. Do I still got it, Danny? Thank you.
I totally agree, though. This individual playmaking is so huge in this meta. I would disagree with one thing you said, though, which I don't think it's all the damage players, right? I think it's the support, the Lucio carry. These heroes can frag in this meta. There's not a shield to clear, and so that's like Kyrie, Lucio's main weakness is like those off angles.
Okay,
they can still get in and frag. And the Orisa too, right?
This is a great part.
The spears, I mean, the individual playmaking from spears, if you just pushing like that, breaking a Sojourn slide or pushing a Lucio off a wall, these things like that subtly breaks the position and then gives your team this massive opening. So honestly, I feel like especially the openings to these fights, I feel like all 5 players are active. Everyone's looking for their fights.
No, I disagree. I agree with Johnny. It's all about the DPS players.
He's right.
No.
I'm going to add to it as
Johnny,
well.
Stand your ground.
I'm going to add to it as well.
Now we all disagree with Danny.
That's also why we saw more Genji, I think, as the match progressed. Because if you're playing Tracer, and you have to deal with Masa. We saw Masa do a really good job on the Lucio on Lijiang Tower, for example. It's just peeling back Naga. And like, you can't really get those flank angles in. You can't really be a productive Tracer. And we saw Naga on Midtown as well. He swapped from Tracer to Genji. Because like, if you have to work around the poke from a Lucio and the kunais from a Kiriko, like there's so much poke damage there. It's hard to really be efficient. Whereas a Genji, you can dash into a Sojourn. You can get on top of people, use the Dragon Blade to your advantage. So Jake is right. The support players, they have a lot of impact in how these comps are being swapped up as well.
I think Genji just has a lot of value to the Orisa as well.
I just wanted to back you up and you just jump ship like that, Johnny.
We're a team. This is complimentary analysis. We're a team.
We're a team.
All right.
This is not first take, all right? We're not trying to duel over here.
This was only the first match. We got more matches coming up right after this break.